back to like talking about trying to explain these things scientifically. I always find like we can explore the answer scientifically, but that's only going to get us so far, especially when we're discussing meaning and purpose questions. So let me give you a little bit of a story that a friend of mine, Glenn Scribner, likes to articulate in this parable that he tells that he calls Betty the Botanist. So you have Betty the Botanist, and she's been looking at a plant sample in her lab. She's been spending all weekend looking at this plant sample. She's been, investigating it and doing all of these tests on it all weekend. And Jerry, the lab assistant, comes in on Monday. And Betty looks at Jerry and says, "Jerry, thank you for the botanical specimen that you left me on the weekend. Thank you for this botanical specimen. I've been doing all of these tests. I've been looking at the components of it and the complexity of the biology, and there are pharmacological implications that I've extrapolated from its various biological components, and we can use these to cure diseases. There's so many things. Thank you so much for the botanical specimen." And Jerry says, "Betty, it was February 14th on the weekend. That was a long stem rose. Do you know what I left for you? Do you know what the implication of the botanical specimen, as you're calling it, was for what I was trying to communicate to you?" Now, did Betty the Botanist understand the long stem rose? In one way, she understood it more than most, because she had done all of the tests and run through all of the different ways that she could extrapolate what that thing was. But what Jerry was trying to actually illustrate was something that went beyond that. It was a love gift. He was trying to communicate something that went beyond the simple biology. And Betty could very simply say, well, I couldn't get that from the data. I couldn't have extrapolated the implications of it being a love gift. And in that, so far as it being a parable, we can look at all of the scientific explanations, but there's something that goes beyond the simple data in terms of meaning and purpose and desire, identity questions that go far beyond that, right? Like we can look, I could tell you the different chemical components that make up the page and the ink and like the size of the paper and its transparency and all of that. I could say, Stephen, what is this? And you could go into all of this explanation about how paper is made and the pulp and how we extrapolate it and eventually put it together in the binding. And I could say, okay, yeah, but this is a Bible. This is meant to communicate something to